our bureau calculates CO2 emissions. So we had a nice meeting with these people, with some of the banks, but also with the young ventures and some policymakers. And then what we saw is that if you calculate the ambitions, the things these startups can do in 4 to 5 years into these very conservative calculations, then we're actually doing much better on CO2 reduction than was anticipated.
Hello and welcome to the Research Valorisation podcast series. My name is Madeline Arkins, Project Officer at UIN and your host for today. In this episode, we look into the world of circular technology with Maurits Burgering, Program Director for the Thematic Technology Transfer Program, Circular Technology at Wageningen University and Research. Join us as we shed light on TTT's pivotal role in nurturing young innovators, how these initiatives are making a substantial impact on sustainability and climate goals, and offering a glimpse into the promising future of circular technology and innovation. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Maurits Burgering. Maurits is Program Director for the Thematic Technology Transfer Program around circular technology at Wageningen University and Research. There, he is also manager of the Knowledge Transfer Office and IP Desk. Throughout his career at Wageningen and previously at TNO, Maurits has empowered experts and scientists of various kinds through new business development to demonstrate several high-impact innovations in real practice. He also holds a doctoral degree in chemistry and biophysics from Utrecht University. And for those of us who joined us in Budapest earlier this year, Maurits won the Research Valorisation Award at our conference for his presentation on his work at the TTT Program. So we're very excited to hear more about it here. Maurits, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for this lovely introduction. Yes, I'm indeed managing a program for technical universities in the Netherlands. That is not only Wageningen, but also Delft, Eindhoven, Twente. I think most of you have heard the names, and also TNO, the Applied Research Organization in the Netherlands, where we join in to embark on more and better spin-offs to be created on circular technology, which is, I think, something that is important for our future, for our resources to be maintained, but also for all kinds of other climate, energy emissions we have. And indeed, I work at Wageningen, but especially in this role, I have an independent position. And I think that this is important to make such a program running, is that you do not sit on your own proposition, but you tend to look around to the best things that are there.
Exactly. Yeah. And the partnership is a massive undertaking between the 4 technical universities. How did that partnership come about? How did the TTT program develop?
Of course, it didn't start just like that. I think the 4 technical universities in the Netherlands already have a long history of collaborating together on fundamental research, but also in all kinds of student challenges, programs, or social events. We work together. So it was a natural thing to come together. And our government embarked on this TTT subsidy scheme, which they put in the air like that and say, hey, we should do something on a specific theme. And we applied for this subsidy, not only in circular technology, but also in smart industries. We won both. So we have now been doing this project for almost 4 years, and it is quite a success.
Great to see. What does the TTT do that sets it apart in this area?
I think it is a playing ground where you can easily shuffle some money, not big money, but small money around between the 4 technical universities and TNO to help a very early phase innovation that hangs around in the cellars of the university. And we can bring it to the ground floor, and everybody looks at it and tries to make it stronger and better. And in that way, we give a huge impulse to young people that have ambition, no lengthy procedures on getting some initial money. And then they embark on a journey of getting more funding, and by having this low entrance way of seducing young people to do something with their inventions. That's really the success, I think, and also that other universities like other TUs help them. And so not only your own university, but all the partners.
So maybe in addition to this kind of seed funding or even pre-seed funding, what other sort of factors do you think are maybe crucial in helping these early phase innovations get over the line? We see so many fail at this stage. What do you see in your experience that really makes them a success?
First of all, failing is not something bad. So our motto is really fail fast or develop fast. And so if you fail, just as quickly as possible, because then you spend a little bit of money. If it fails, then you know it isn't a good idea. So fine. What we see in the past is that people had an idea and they say, I want some money. And then a couple of months later, I have so good and they need some more money. And then in the end, it takes 4 years or so, where they get all kinds of bits and pieces of little money for a good idea. And then in the end, it was a bad idea anyway. These kind of ideas tend to hang around quite long. So fail fast is good, because then the good ideas develop fast. And another very important factor is building trust between the consortium partners. And that is what we developed during the 3 or 4 years that we are now working together. Also with the history of working together. For instance, Eindhoven shares their insights, maybe some new IP on a specific topic with a venture in Delft or whatever. So we have a couple of spin-offs that have actual IP from two different universities. Crossover is very important.
Given that this is a partnership with Dutch universities and the Dutch Applied Research Institution of TNO, and the Netherlands has this very ambitious target of having a circular economy by 2050.
Yes.
How do you see universities and even initiatives and programs like TTT playing a role in pushing this forward and maybe at some point reaching this target?
Of course, these young ventures have ambition, and that's very good. For instance, our bureau calculates CO2 emissions. We have civil servants that calculate, and they want to diminish that, etc., etc. So we had a nice meeting with these people who calculate for our government, with some of the banks, but also with the young ventures and some policymakers. And then what we saw is that if the ambitions, the things these startups can do in 4 to 5 years, if you calculate these into these very conservative calculations, then we're actually doing much better on CO2 reduction than was anticipated. These policymakers are so conservative and only calculate with the usual suspects, the big multinationals with their programs. But hey, these are knocking on the door and challenging the system. And if what they think they can do, only just part of it becomes reality, then we are actually doing much better in the figures in 2050 or 2030 as we thought. So that was a nice achievement.
This is very hopeful. I feel like that kind of hope is often absent from a lot of these discussions that we have on this topic. Another element of this maybe that I wanted to touch on was the element of greenwashing. As the topic has gained more priority and even more urgency, this is something that I feel we've also had to swat away in the meantime, as so many companies use as a
I think the greenwashing as a phenomena is something that is really bad for everything. Last year I was at Slush. I don't know whether you know what Slush is. It's the biggest startup event in Helsinki, where in fact some of the impact investors on stage called upon greenwashing and say that should be criminalized. So that's something that was quite a statement from a VC. And in part, I really believe the same, that this is doing harm to all the climate initiatives that are out there. It should be based on sound technology, but also on real calculation by life cycle analysis or something like that. You see that greenwashing Goliath, which is corporates that think they are doing green, are really challenged by David. And so David against Goliath, and they challenge the system. And I think these young ventures are higher key in circularity. They have more ambition. They can pivot much faster, and they are not hindered by the traditional business model that corporate has.
From reading up on the TTT circular technology, you guys have two separate pillars. Yeah. One pillar for researchers who would like to set up their own company.
Which is a true investment. So first pre-seed convertible loan agreement. What we are currently doing is we are looking at the metrics after 4 years, see what have we achieved. And then you see that with helping these ventures with this small money, these young students, we have now seen about 80 of them. So there's quite a lot. And there's always intellectual property from the university behind it. We look at impact, we look at scalability, and then you see that these ventures get a little bit more easily funded by new investors. because they see and trust the platform. We now calculated that more than 80 million euros was raised by these new ventures.
Wow.
While there were only 12 convertible loans at 250,000 euros. So there's a huge leverage on the investments done by our government in the TTT with private money, because they all see that this works. And also that I think now 4 of the ventures have an EIC, European status. That's also a very big achievement. More than 300 people have a job in these ventures, so that's quite a lot.
Another question that came to mind relating to the pillar of TTT is you supporting researchers to then go out and grow their own commercial venture or technology or spin-off, as it were. How, in your mind, can universities better support their academics who also want that kind of external engagement?
There's certainly something here in the Netherlands. We have now quite a debate. If you have an academic PhD, say you have 10, none of them can be a professor. That's simple mathematics. I think only one can be then you have 9 others. A few of them can go to corporates, but still career path and in being an entrepreneur is, I think, very fruitful, but also an education that in itself that makes you much better professional, and if it fails, then you're still much more attractive for a corporate because of your experience as being an entrepreneur. And I think now here in the Netherlands, in the academic world, we try to see whether we can give credits to an academic, not only in the number of publications or the age index, but also, is he a good teacher, for instance? It might be that he's quite a reasonable researcher, but he's an excellent teacher. Then he should teach, basically, because that's his passion and his profession. Or he's very good in valorizing results and building. So therefore, we should also support them, but also in their career and support them equally as an academic that gets a professorship at some point. Yeah. It's a new wave, basically, that it's not only recognizing and recognition on science, but also on education and valorization. And if you excel in one, that's just as good as excelling in the other.
Yeah, it's a real kind of holistic look at all the different activities of academia rather than a more tunnel vision, which has been
which is typically that you only look at the number of papers and the citation index, and then that's your quality. But that's too simple nowadays.
And maybe to close off our conversation, I wonder if there's anything in particular on the horizon, any developments in this area of the circular economy that excites you, that is hopeful?
As I said, I'm really hopeful that these ventures can actually contribute to the conservative calculations of some of our bureaus that calculates things. But also I see that as our society is getting more and more complex, you need to have a certain theme where you work on, because circularity has so much different challenges than, for instance, AI and digital spin-offs. We need to focus on a few of these themes, and we're now working on a huge proposal where we combine deep tech as one of the themes, sustainability and climate and circularity, as well as digital and AI as being the 3 we are now embarking in. And we also have biotech as a side stream. There are new programs being developed that build on the lessons learned basically from TTT. That's very exciting.
Yeah. No, it's great to see that these kind of large scale collaborations are prioritizing these kind of topics, even emerging topics, as it were, with circular technology. So I think that actually brings us to the end of our chat. Maurits, thanks so much for joining and for sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure. And also the audience, if you want to reach out to me to get some more details or whatever, I'm always happy to explain more. Get in touch.
Thank you for listening to the discussion. Follow UIN on LinkedIn, and if you're enjoying our podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your podcast platform of choice to help others find this content too.